Hello guys, welcome back to another video. We are back working on my good friend Matt's Bmw F21 series. What are we going to be doing in this one then? We are going to be swapping out the front brakes. So we're going to be swapping out both the discs, which there's quite a decent lip on them, and also the pads as well, which are definitely past their best. So we have the new items here, TRW pads, and then some Ferrodo discs which are coated so they don't rust. If you want to check these out, I'll leave a link down in the description box below so you can get your own. Also going to be using some copper grease today, some brake cleaner and a wire brush just to help us clean things up. Now before we get started, we want to make sure the cap is off of the brake fluid reservoir. I'll explain why that is once we get into things. But as you can see, I have the front wheel up in the air on the jack and point there, and then just have a jack stand there just for safety. Have the lock and wheel nut key in place. Let's get the wheel off and let's get cracking. Okay then, so have the wheel off now, so let's get cracking. So for starters, I'm just going to remove this spring clip here. Yeah, that's that removed. Then I'm going to remove the slide bolt caps off the back. There's one, and there's two. And the slide bolts themselves take a 8mm Allen socket. Before I remove the caliper itself, I want to compress the piston back inside of the caliper. So I'm just going to get a screwdriver and push this against the old brake pad. This is exactly why we need to take the cap off of the brake fluid reservoir. And once we have enough room, I can get my pry bar in there. There we are. Then we can remove the caliper itself. We can move this front pad out of the way. And remove this pad out of the caliper. And also remove both of these slide bolts as well. Give them a good clean up before reinstallation. And we'll just have the caliper sit in on the top there. We don't want that to dangle from the brake hose itself, so you can damage it. So with those two 18mm bolts removed, caliper bracket can come away. Now we can work on getting the disc removed. So it should take a 6mm Allen bit or Allen key. But these do have a tendency to round, so you need to make sure it's seated in there properly. It shouldn't be in tight, it should only be 9 Nm or so. There we are. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be as easy to remove if it was seized. You probably want to have the caliper in place and have someone step on the brake pedal just to stop the disc from trying to spin. Now the disc should come off. Might have to give it a gentle bit of persuasion. There we are. That's the disc removed. Yeah, a good decent lip on the inner side. These are, I would say, nearly out of spec actually. Now we'll just give the hub and all behind here a good clean up before we install the new disc. And then I'm going to apply a small amount of copper grease to the hub, on the face, and around the inner ring as well. just so that the wheel doesn't stick on, seize on, as this one was. And to give it a good few smacks with the mallet to get it off. It's just little steps like this which makes life so much easier for the next person, whoever's in here. Now we'll get our nice new shiny disc, line it up, get our brake disc retaining screw with a tiny bit of copper grease on as well. Tighten this down, and we can torque this down to just 9 Newton meters. Yeah, not too much. We can now get the caliper bracket cleaned up, both where the pads make contact with and also the mating surfaces as well. Now we can get this reinstalled with the two 18mm bolts. Then we can torque both of them bolts down to 110 Newton meters. And there's two. Now I can get the slider bolts cleaned up. Now I do like to grease these up. BMW recommend not to though, as this isn't my car. I'm just going to follow BMW's advice, just give these a good clean up and then install them dry. They are nice and clean. Get them reinstalled back into the caliper. And now we can get our new pads. I just like to apply a small amount of copper grease, don't have to go crazy, just to the ends. They do have anti-squeal pads on, pretty much all brake pads do nowadays, so you don't have to absolutely coat these things in grease. I just like to put a small smear on the ends, just to keep things sliding nicely, so we can install the front one into the caliper bracket, like so, and this one into the caliper itself. Make sure it's the correct way around. There we are, that's popped in. And you can slide the caliper over the brake disc and then push the slide bolts through to the caliper bracket, and then we can tighten them down. And we can get these torqued down to 30 Newton meters. There's one. There's two. And of course we can get these dust covers reinstalled as well, and then our securing clip at the front can go back on. And there we go then, sorted. New discs, new pads, everything all back together. Let's get the wheel on, get the car back on the ground, and get the other side up in the air, and let's do the exact same on the other side as well. As you can see then, wheel back on. I've also went ahead and done the exact same on the other side as well. Also swapped out the brake pad wear sensor on this side. Of course, when you are swapping out the discs and pads, it's a good idea to swap out the sensor as well, even if it hasn't been triggered, because for the sake of £10 it just means that, you know, just gives you peace of mind that the new one is going to work as it should. But with those now done, we can get this cover reinstalled over the top of the brake fluid reservoir. There we are. And that is us now, pretty much job done. Oh, by the way, I did tighten up the cap on the reservoir for those thinking, wait, did he just leave the reservoir cap undone? No, of course I reinstalled it tight and proper. But yeah, that's another job done on this car. Front brake disc, front pads, all swapped out. Well then, there we go, another job done, another day of getting cold and wet. I cannot wait until that garage is built, yeah, it would be an absolute luxury to have this thing on a lift to work in a nice, warm and dry environment. But we make use of what we have, and yeah, we can still get the job done, as can you as well. You do not need to take your car to the dealership to get your brakes replaced. You just need pretty basic hand tools, a bit of knowledge, a bit of time and a bit of patience. But yeah, enough said anyway. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Please give this video a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one.